Friday night in Willow Creek always ends the same way. The stadium lights still burning, the smell of nacho cheese hanging in the air, and every street in town clogged with pickup trucks, heading home from the high school game. But tonight, those lights are shining on something no one will ever forget. Across the street from the diner, in the gravel driveway of the Colson house, a girl is lying on her back. Her white hoodie is stained dark. Her hair fanned out, like she's floating in water. Above her, lit by the harsh glare of the floodlights, stands Ethan Colson, the sheriff's only son, holding a black pistol, like he doesn't know whether to drop it or use it again. The sound isn't screaming. It's silence. The kind where everyone is holding their breath because they know who they're looking at and what it means to see him like this. A woman 2 houses down raises her phone. Her hands are shaking, but she keeps recording. Ethan looks up, spots her, but doesn't move. Instead, from the corner of the block, a patrol car screeches in. The driver's door flies open. It's Deputy Harlan, Ethan's cousin. "Phone," he says, not shouting, not asking, just taking. The woman stares for a second, then hands it over. He doesn't even glance at the screen. The phone vanishes into his jacket pocket. Neighbors stand frozen on their porches. Some step back inside, quietly closing their doors. Others just turn away, because in Willow Creek, looking too long at the wrong thing can be dangerous. Ethan lowers the gun, not to the ground, but into the open trunk of his truck. He closes it slowly, like there's no rush at all. The floodlights above the Colson driveway hum for a moment, then click off. The darkness that follows isn't just the night. It's the kind of darkness you feel in your gut. The kind that tells you this isn't going to be handled the way it should. That was the last time anyone in town saw the truth, with their own eyes. The rest would be edited, erased, or buried, just like her. By morning, Willow Creek had already convinced itself to move on. The Colson driveway was scrubbed clean before sunrise. The gravel raked until there was no trace of the dark stains from the night before. On Main Street, coffee cups clinked in the diner, like it was any other Saturday. The sheriff himself sat at the corner booth, sipping black coffee and reading the local paper. His face was blank, almost bored. But in the sheriff's office, something else was happening. Something no one outside the department was supposed to notice. The town's security cameras, the ones that watched every intersection, every gas station, every back alley, had gone dark. Not fuzzy, not glitched. Dark. It started at 9:14 p.m., exactly 2 minutes after Ethan Colson pulled the trigger. One by one, the feeds cut out. The Texaco on Highway 8, the school parking lot, even the intersection in front of the courthouse. By 9:20, the entire system was down. When the official statement came out, it was wrapped in that casual, lazy tone Willow Creek uses when it wants you to stop asking questions. Routine maintenance. Scheduled system update. It might have worked if anyone else had been paying attention, but someone was paying attention. Her name was Linda Vega. 42, single mom, and mother of the girl in the white hoodie. Linda wasn't a tech person. She didn't know how to work half the apps on her phone. But she knew how time worked. She knew that those cameras never, ever, all went down at once, not even during storms. When she called the sheriff's office, the voice on the other end gave her the same line. Maintenance, update, nothing to worry about. But Linda heard something in that voice. The quick inhale before answering, the way it cut off the moment she asked about the timestamp. She drove to the county records office that afternoon, hoping to request the footage, before it vanished. The clerk at the counter smiled, almost too politely, and told her the hard drives had been sent out for repair. No estimate on when they'd be back. And that's when she noticed something strange. On the wall behind the clerk's desk hung a framed schedule, the camera maintenance log. The last maintenance? 2 years ago. No future date listed. By the end of the weekend, the camera feeds came back on. Right at the start of Monday morning rush hour. That meant 42 full hours were missing. From Willow Creek's record of itself. 42 hours where Ethan could have cleaned up, destroyed evidence, even moved a body, and there'd be no trace. Linda knew she wasn't just dealing with a tragedy anymore. She was staring straight at a cover-up. And if the cameras could be turned off that easily, what else could they make disappear? On Monday evening, the diner was half empty, smelling like burnt coffee and fried onion rings. Linda sat in the back booth, staring at a notebook she hadn't written in yet. She didn't know why she'd come, maybe just to be somewhere people could see her. So she wouldn't feel so alone. That's when Amber Ross slid into the seat across from her, without asking. Amber was 23, all sharp eyeliner and nervous energy, and she'd grown up 2 blocks from Linda's house. "I heard about the cameras," Amber said, voice low, "and I saw something. But we can't talk here." Linda froze. No one had spoken to her like that in days, not without pity in their voice. They stepped outside, into the cold AR. Amber lit a cigarette, took one drag, then flicked it into the gutter before it burned halfway. "Friday night," she said. "After it happened. I was closing up here. I saw Ethan's truck flying down Miller Road. He stopped by the county barn. I swear he threw something into one of the burn barrels." Linda's mind flashed back to the black pistol vanishing into Ethan's truck. Amber kept talking. "Those barrels, they're supposed to be for scrap wood, but that night, the smell..." She stopped herself, biting her lip. 10 minutes later, they were in Linda's car, the headlights bouncing over the dirt road to the county storage lot. The place looked deserted, just rows of rusting tractors and a sagging chain-link fence. Amber led the way around the side to where 3 black barrels sat in a triangle. One was still warm to the touch. Inside, under a thin layer of ash, Linda saw it, scraps of fabric curled into blackened petals, a melted zipper, and what looked like the edge of a sneaker sole. She couldn't tell if it was her daughter's, and that uncertainty hit harder than proof. Amber didn't touch anything. She just watched Linda's face. "I work part-time at the sheriff's office," Amber said quietly. "Front desk. I can keep my ears open for you, but if you tell anyone I helped, I'll lose my job, and maybe worse." Linda nodded, grateful, but unsettled. The words "lose my job" sounded too small for the kind of fear in Amber's voice. As they drove back into town, Linda caught a glimpse of something in the rearview mirror, a set of headlights following them. Too far back to make out the driver, but steady, unblinking. When she glanced at Amber, the younger woman was staring out the passenger window, like she hadn't noticed, but her hand was clenched tight in her lap. For the first time, Linda wondered if Amber was protecting her or watching her. 2 days later, Linda found herself standing on her brother-in-law's porch. Ray Vega had been a cop for 20 years, before retiring with a bad knee and a pension that still let him live comfortably in his brick ranch house on the edge of town. He was the kind of man who knew everyone in Willow Creek, and more importantly, knew how the sheriff's office really worked. If anyone could help her push this forward, it was him. Ray opened the door slowly, like he already knew why she was there. He didn't invite her in, just stepped back enough for her to enter, the smell of pipe smoke curling in from his den. "I need your help," Linda said without small talk. "I found what's left of her clothes in a burn barrel. Amber Ross saw Ethan. There, the cameras went out for exactly 42 hours. I know you can pull strings. Ray held up a hand. Linda, stop. His voice wasn't angry. It was tired. The kind of tired that comes from knowing a fight is unwinnable before it even starts. I heard what happened, he said. And I believe you, but you need to let this go. Linda stared at him, sure she'd misheard. Let it go? That's your niece. That's exactly why I'm saying it, he replied. You think the sheriff's going to let his boy sit in a cell? You think the DA's going to press charges when half his campaign money comes from the Colsons? This isn't about truth here, Linda. It's about power. And you're outnumbered. She shook her head. So we just bury her twice? Once in the ground? Once in the records? Ray's eyes flicked toward the living room window, toward the street. I've seen what happens when people push too hard. Evidence disappears. Witnesses move away. Sometimes, accidents happen. Linda left without saying goodbye. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the quiet street. Kids were riding bikes past Ray's yard, their laughter carrying through the AIR, a perfect slice of small-town life. Across the road, in the church parking lot, the sheriff was laughing with Pastor Glenn, his hand clapping the man's back like they'd just shared a joke. A few feet away, Ethan's mother was handing out slices of pie from a folding table, smiling like she was hosting a bake sale, instead of living in the center of a murder investigation. It hit Linda all at once. This wasn't just a family protecting a killer. This was a whole town deciding what the truth would be. On Thursday afternoon, Linda came home to find a rental car parked crooked in her driveway. A man in a charcoal blazer was leaning against the hood, flipping through a notebook. Linda Vega? He asked, standing up as she approached. Name's Connor Blake, The Chronicle. I'm here because, well, Willow Creek isn't as quiet as it pretends to be. His handshake was firm, his smile quick. City polish, the kind of man who'd never fit in at the church potluck, but knew exactly how to make people talk. Over coffee at her kitchen table, he laid it out. Someone had emailed him an anonymous tip, small-town murder, missing footage, sheriff's son, the kind of story that could blow the lid off corruption in rural America. Linda felt a crack of hope. She told him everything, about Amber's sighting, the burnt scraps in the barrel, the 42-hour blackout, even the way her own family was warning her to stop. Connor scribbled notes so fast, his handwriting looked like scratches. You're doing the right thing, he told her. They'll hate you for it, but you'll have the truth on record. For the first time in days, she slept without seeing Ethan's face in the driveway. 3 mornings later, she nearly dropped her mug when she saw the headline, High School Romance Ends in Tragedy. Town Mourns Bright Futures Lost. Her hands shook as she read. There it was, page 2, a carefully written feature about a young couple caught in a tragic accident, focusing on the emotional toll for both families. The girl's name was there, Ethan's wasn't. The article said the sheriff's office was conducting a thorough investigation and warned against harmful rumors. Amber's account? Gone. The burnt clothing? Gone. The 42-hour blackout? Gone. Linda called Connor's cell. No answer. She tried again, straight to voicemail. By noon, she found out why. A clerk at the diner mentioned seeing Connor at breakfast, sitting in the corner booth with the sheriff. The two of them had laughed like old friends. That image lodged in her mind, like a splinter. That night, Linda sat at her kitchen table, the newspaper spread out in front of her. The hope she'd felt just days earlier was gone, replaced by something heavier. She had thought an outsider would be immune to Willow Creek's loyalties, but maybe money and power worked the same everywhere. It just wore different clothes. And now, she was running out of people to trust. It happened in the frozen food aisle of Martin's grocery. Linda was staring at a bag of peas, trying to remember why she'd even come in, when a voice behind her said quietly, "I know what happened that night." She turned. A lanky kid, maybe 19, with a name tag that read Kyle. His eyes darted to the security mirror above the aisle, then back to her. "I saw Ethan's truck," he whispered. "Not in town, out by the river bridge. Around midnight. He wasn't alone." Linda's throat went dry. "Who was with him?" Kyle shook his head. "Couldn't see, but I work stock in the back. We've got an old camera in the loading bay that points toward the bridge road. Nobody ever checks it. I pulled the memory card before they could wipe it." She felt her pulse thud in her ears. "You have it?" "Yeah," he said, glancing around. "Can't give it to you here. Meet me after my shift, back door by the dumpsters. 11 o'clock. That night, Linda parked in the alley behind the store, headlights off. The air smelled like cardboard and old fryer oil. She waited. 11 came and went. No Kyle. By 11:20, she knocked on the metal back door. Another employee she didn't know opened it, frowning. "Kyle here?" Linda asked. The guy shook his head. "Kyle? Nah. He left mid-shift. Didn't say where. Boss said to clean out his locker." Something cold slid through her stomach. She asked if she could check it herself. The stockroom smelled like bleach and dust. She found the row of lockers. Kyle's was hanging open, a dent in the door where the lock had been forced. Inside, nothing but a crumpled gum wrapper and a single glove. No memory card. No personal stuff. It didn't look like someone who'd quit. It looked like someone who'd been erased. As she stepped back out into the night, she noticed a white truck parked across the street, engine idling. The driver's face was shadowed, but the brim of his cap caught the streetlight. Linda didn't need to see the rest to know who it was. Man. The call came, just after sunset. Linda almost didn't answer. She'd stopped picking up unknown numbers days ago, but the screen showed Amber Ross. Her voice was fast, low, like she was calling from inside a closet. "Linda, you need to know. You're being followed." Amber said she'd seen it herself, a white truck idling across from the diner all afternoon, same one she'd spotted trailing Linda's car a few nights back. "I don't know if it's Ethan or one of his dad's guys, but they're not just watching. They're waiting." Before Linda could ask for details, Amber hung up. That night, Linda kept the curtains shut and the lights low. Every creak of the house made her glance at the window. She told herself she was imagining it, that the tension had finally gotten into her bones. But the next morning, reality nailed itself to her front door. Literally. A black crow, wings spread wide, was fixed to the wood with a rusty nail through its breast, its head lolled to the side, beak half open. Black feathers lay scattered across the welcome mat, the wind rolling them like bits of burnt paper. The sight hit her like a punch. In small-town hunting circles, a dead crow on your property wasn't random. It was a message, a warning that you'd been marked, that someone had their sights on you. Linda's hand shook as she yanked it free, dropping it into a trash bag. But even after she'd scrubbed the door, the dark smear where the bird had been stayed, a stain that no soap could lift. She didn't need Amber to explain the meaning. Home was no longer a safe place. The envelope was thin, cheap, the kind you buy in bulk at the dollar store. No return address. Just her name, Linda, scrawled in a shaky hand, trembling with secrets, and a local postmark that whispered of someone close, too close. She stood over the kitchen counter, the envelope dangling from her fingers. Her first thought was a threat, another jagged warning from the shadows of her past. She almost tossed it into the trash, unopened, to join the ghosts she couldn't face. But the weight, light yet heavier than paper, stopped her cold. A faint clink inside, like a promise or a trap. She tore it open, her breath shallow, and found it. A plain, black thumb drive. No note, no explanation, just cold plastic, holding answers she wasn't sure she wanted. Her hands hovered over the laptop, trembling. Plugging it in could ruin everything. Wipe her hard drive, unleash a virus, unravel her fragile world. But curiosity, that reckless pull, won. The folder opened with a single file staring back at her. Camera Chapter 14, MP4. She clicked, heart thudding, each beat a warning she ignored. The footage flickered to life, grainy, bathed in the sickly green of night vision. A pole camera's view, high and distant, maybe 2 houses down from hers. The timestamp burned into the corner. FRI 2116. 2 minutes after the moment her world had shattered, the moment she'd last seen her daughter, alive, laughing, whole. Ethan's truck idled at the curb, tailgate yawning open like a hungry mouth. In the driveway, a dark shape sprawled on the ground. Heavy, unmoving, wrong. Ethan bent low, his silhouette sharp against the night, hooking his arms under it. He dragged, muscles straining, stumbling once, his head snapping back to check the shadows to be sure no one saw. Then, another figure stepped into frame. The sheriff, still in uniform, badge glinting under the street lamp. No hesitation, no doubt. He grabbed the other end, lifting with Ethan, moving the shape like it was nothing. They hauled it into the truck bed, efficient, practiced. Ethan's head stayed down, shadowed, but the sheriff's face caught the light. Calm, focused, as if he were hefting a bag of feed instead of... Linda's breath caught, sharp, a knife in her chest. And then it happened. The sheriff stopped. He looked up, not around, not checking for witnesses, but straight at the camera. Not a glance, not a flicker. A long, deliberate stare piercing through the lens, through the screen, into her. It wasn't surprise, it was recognition. As if he'd known the camera was there, watching, waiting, all along. The clip cut to black. Linda sat frozen, the laptop's hum deafening in the silent room. Her pulse roared, each beat a question. Somewhere out there, Kyle, the stock boy, the kid who'd always been too quiet, too watchful, was alive enough to get this to her. But for how long? Why now? She dragged the cursor back, replaying the final frame, zooming in on the sheriff's eyes. They weren't afraid of being seen. They were daring her, challenging her to act, to step into the game he'd already started.